As they lived long and thoughtful lives, the Stoics learned how to observe and understand people, especially when it came to relationships. They knew when to get involved and, more importantly, when to back off. In this episode, we'll talk about 7 types of women you should avoid dating based on psychological insights. If you've experienced any of these situations, please watch the entire episode, like it, follow it, and share your personal story in the comments section below. Come on in and read Chapter 1. Women who desire to date other women should be avoided. Avoid engaging in sexual activities with women who exhibit clear attraction to other women. While it's important to accept everyone's sexual orientation and preferences, it's also important to know when a woman might not be focusing on you romantically or sexually. When it comes to sexual preferences, women's minds are often complicated and multifaceted. It's possible that a woman expressing attraction to you may not seek the same level of satisfaction you can provide. In this case, the chances of emotional disconnection, dissatisfaction or confusion for both partners are higher from a Stoic point of view. Self-awareness and understanding the true nature of your friendship are crucial. Shipping is an important part of living by your beliefs. Stoics pushed for rational thought, which means figuring out what's going on without letting your feelings or expectations get in the way. A woman's attraction to other women may indicate her lack of emotional investment in a romantic or sexual relationship with you, which could hinder her long-term commitment to your relationship. This doesn't imply dishonesty or untrustworthiness. Rather, it signifies a failure to meet her emotional and physical needs. Male partners often fail to meet the emotional and sexual needs of women who are interested in other women. This isn't a criticism of your worth as a man. It's just an honest admission of the limits that come with having a sexual orientation that doesn't match yours. Trying to start or keep a relationship with someone like this can be very difficult. You may find yourself constantly trying to get her attention or meeting needs that are beyond your ability. This can be very frustrating. Getting lost. And even feelings of not being good enough when you understand that her wants could be somewhere else. Being in a relationship with a woman who likes other women can also be draining on your emotions in the long run. As she continues to explore her sexuality and preferences, you may unintentionally become a temporary figure in her journey to self-discovery. While it's normal for people to change their orientations and preferences over time, it's also possible that she will end up seeking fulfillment through relationships with women, leaving you feeling used or emotionally drained as she moves on. Finding her wants or needs unmet can be heartbreaking, particularly if you've invested emotionally in the relationship. Another issue that may arise is the potential for broken trust or a lack of emotional intimacy when a woman's primary attraction is to other women. When one partner seeks emotional connection outside the relationship, it can be challenging to trust the other. Over time, this lack of fulfillment can weaken the foundation of intimacy and trust that a healthy relationship needs. You may feel increasingly disconnected from her, even if there has been no betrayal. It's important to be aware of the emotional toll this dynamic can take. Constantly feeling like you're not fully meeting her needs can lower your self-esteem and make you question your own desirability and worth. It's normal to feel stressed during these times because you might not feel good enough, even though you're trying to connect deeply. It can be a strain on your mental health to try to satisfy wants that you can't get. Anxiety, frustration, and a sense of unworthiness can result from this. The calm ones. People who put logic over emotion would tell you to step back and look at the situation with clarity. They would tell you to look at the relationship's dynamic, DCS, without letting your feelings get in the way. Emotional attachment should not cloud your judgment if the relationship doesn't meet your physical and emotional needs. You should make choices based on logic and self-respect instead of emotional attachment. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, said it's important to know what you can control and what you can't. In this situation, you have no control over her sexual orientation and you're attempting to establish a connection that isn't organic. Exist can only make things worse. To make smart decisions about your relationship, you need to know a woman's sexual orientation and what she wants. Two people of different orientations can have blissful relationships, but both need to be emotionally and physically satisfied. Investing your time, energy, and emotions in a relationship that fulfills your needs and desires could be more beneficial if she primarily attracts women. By doing this, you can build a relationship that supports your emotional and physical health instead of one that is full of unrealistic expectations and unfulfilled desires. In conclusion, it's important to keep an open mind and understand that a relationship with a woman who clearly wants other women may not be in your best interest. Seeing this early on can help you avoid mental pain and focus on healthier, more values-based relationships. Stoics would tell you to use your mind, watch how things are changing, and move forward with clarity and wisdom, making sure your mental health is safe. Part 2. There are women who have been in paid, intimate relationships in the past. Stay away from women who have been in paid relationships if you want an intimate meeting. Of course, people can change and move on from the past. Having this kind of background could make it harder to build a long-term relationship that is mentally safe. Stoics thought that being self-aware and making choices that are in line with our higher purpose and well-being were important. Using these ideas in your relationships can help you avoid situations where trust, loyalty, and emotional stability may be at risk. Everyone has the freedom to choose their own path in life, including their career and lifestyle. However, if a woman has done paid sex work, it's important to be aware that she may have emotional baggage that could make a future relationship more difficult. Other women may leave that lifestyle behind and find healthy, committed relationships. Others may have unresolved problems or mental walls that make it harder to trust them. One of the most challenging aspects of these interactions is the potential for trust issues to arise. When you do paid intimate work, you often have to separate yourself from emotional intimacy because the focus is on physical contact instead of a real emotional bond. It might be hard for her to form a strong emotional connection with someone if this detachment gets stronger over time. Any close relationship relies heavily on trust, and constantly questioning it can cause feelings of nervousness and doubt. The potential impact of her previous lifestyle on the future of your relationship is a significant concern. There's always a chance that old habits, emotional patterns, or even co-workers from her previous job could come back to bother you. This might make it challenging for you to feel completely safe in the relationship. According to the Stoics, you should focus on long-term happiness. M and Security are advising you to avoid locations where concerns about her past could cause you sleepless nights. Having a relationship with a woman who has performed this type of work could potentially lead to societal issues, even though attitudes towards these jobs have gradually improved over time. People may still have negative ideas about your relationship because of stereotypes. This kind of outside criticism can make the relationship even more difficult, especially if friends, family, or co-workers say they don't like it or are worried. The pressure from these outside sources could make an already tough situation even worse, making it harder for the relationship to grow. Ultimately, the Stoic approach would be to make decisions based on logic rather than emotion. It's important to be honest with yourself and her about whether or not her past makes you feel safe and comfortable in the relationship. Everyone deserves respect, but you also deserve a relationship where trust, emotional closeness and stability are not constantly at risk. By being aware of the dynamics that might come up because of her past, you can make a better decision about whether to pursue or avoid a deeper connection. Chapter 3. Women who do sexual things that aren't normal. Women who have a history of engaging in sexual activities that are not normal or pose significant risks are the focus of this chapter. Respecting everyone's preferences and boundaries is important, but forming a relationship with someone whose intimate experiences differ significantly from your own can be challenging, particularly if their actions contradict your values. What is your comfort level or your expectations for the relationship? Stoics strongly believed that people should live their lives according to their principles and values. This implies that relationships can achieve peace of mind and emotional well-being when both partners hold similar goals and perspectives. When an elderly woman's personal history involves unusual behaviors that don't align with your values or lifestyle, it can lead to internal conflict, potentially causing discomfort, unease, or even anger over time. A partner with a wealth of unusual experiences can raise concerns about compatibility, trust, or self-esteem. These concerns don't always stem from judging someone's past, but rather from ensuring your own needs and wants are fully satisfied in the relationship. You might wonder if her past experiences set a precedent that could change her expectations, potentially leading to mismatched desires. Additionally, if a significant number of people in your social circle are aware of her past experiences, they may question or judge you, potentially damaging your confidence and altering your feelings about the relationship. Feeling inadequate or unsafe can happen in these kinds of relationships. If her experiences are much more varied, experimental, or exciting than yours, you might start to question whether you can meet her needs, or if she is quietly comparing you to other partners. This built-up stress can really hurt the relationship, destroying trust and mutual respect, which are two important things for a stable and joyful relationship. The Stoics say you can only control your response and outlook, but these uncertainties can still affect your mood and your relationship's long-term health, which is a major concern. Open communication and limits are important for dynamic relationships. If your partner's unusual past or present behaviors are making you feel stressed or uncomfortable, it's important to have an honest conversation with her about your boundaries, values, and mutual expectations. Discussing these feelings can enable both of you to assess your current situation and determine whether any changes are necessary. The Stoics, who were always practical, would say that the key to keeping your peace is making sure that your relationships are in line with your values, without putting your integrity at risk or sacrificing your emotional health. Being in a relationship with someone whose past includes doing things that aren't comfortable for you could also cause arguments over what each person wants in terms of their relationship and way of life. Dynamics mismatched desires can cause mental stress and friction, making it hard to find a balance that works for everyone. Be aware of how much mental and emotional energy you're using to handle these differences. Relationships based on different values or tastes often experience tension, and they may not be able to endure when these differences begin to cause problems. The Stoic reaction would be to think about the situation again and act logically. They teach that we should respect others' choices but prioritize our mental health. Clarity and peace. If her past or present interests in unusual activities cause you ongoing discomfort or internal conflict, you might want to think about whether staying with her is in your best interest. This isn't about judging her, it's about making sure your emotional health stays intact and that you stay true to your values. Also, a partner's unusual, intimate past can cause more than just personal discomfort. It can also lead to long-term relationship problems over time if your values don't match up. Not meeting expectations can lead to anger, distance, or a lack of emotional satisfaction. It's possible for initial discomfort to come back later in the relationship, especially during times of vulnerability or uncertainty. If her unusual past causes you emotional stress on a regular basis, you might start to wonder if the relationship is worth it in the long run. Finally, the Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of peace of mind and emotional stability. When making decisions about relationships, clarity should always be the basis. In this case, it's important to think about whether being in a relationship with someone whose past is at odds with your values will bring you long-term happiness or cause you emotional turmoil. The Stoics would tell you to focus on what you can control, your thoughts, responses, and choices. Finally, if you find that a relationship always causes more trouble than it solves, it might be best to end it to protect your emotional and mental health. When there are big differences in values or personal histories, it may be necessary to think more deeply and communicate more carefully about the relationship. If her past or present behavior causes you stress or discomfort, it's important to think about whether this dynamic fits with your long-term goals for personal and emotional fulfillment. Stoics would tell you to make choices that protect your inner peace and uphold your values. They would also tell you to make sure that the relationships you choose are beneficial for your general health. Chapter 4. Women who are not emotionally available. Being emotionally available is the key to a healthy and happy relationship. If a woman is emotionally unavailable, it can be frustrating, confusing, and disappointing to be with her. This could be due to past emotional baggage or a fear of vulnerability. From a Stoic point of view, emotional unavailability creates a barrier that makes meaningful connection almost impossible. The Stoics knew that relationships needed to be clear and emotionally balanced. They would tell you to think about whether the connection is beneficial for your emotional health and how important it is to be in tune with your emotional needs and wants. When a woman is emotionally absent, it can feel like you're putting effort into a relationship that isn't giving back, leaving you feeling empty where there should be connection. Thrive. Not wanting to have deep chats or talk about personal experiences is a common sign of emotional unavailability. A woman who doesn't want to talk about her feelings, past, or dreams could be a sign that she's not ready or willing to open up and form a real emotional bond. This unwillingness makes a surface-level dynamic that stops the relationship from becoming something important, leaving both partners unhappy in the long run. Behavior that isn't consistent is another sign that someone isn't emotionally available. One day she might seem very interested and involved, but the next day she might pull away or seem less interested, leaving you confused and unsure of where you stand. Dynamic relationships can be mentally and emotionally taxing, as you are constantly attempting to decipher her intentions or predict her next move. Over time, this lack of stability hurts trust and makes it challenging for Stoics to get close emotionally. It's clear what to do. Look for connections that bring you peace, clarity, and stability. If you try to connect with someone who can't meet your emotional needs, you'll probably end up stressed out and disappointed. Stoic thought urges people to think about themselves and their feelings. Getting away from situations that cause stress and mental unavailability is a beneficial example of this. Another problem with women who are emotionally unavailable is that they keep their emotional distance even when things should feel close or personal. If your partner is emotionally unavailable, it could mean that they aren't showing affection or aren't able to offer comfort and support during difficult times. You may feel alone even when you're together, which can create a painful sense of isolation in the relationship. She might have constructed emotional barriers to shield herself from hurt in past relationships. While it's normal to want to help someone heal, you can't force them to open up before they're ready. Often these walls are difficult to take down, and waiting for them to fall can make you feel frustrated and helpless. Stoic wisdom would remind you to focus on what is within your control. If you find that her emotional unavailability is affecting your own emotional health, it may be time to consider whether continuing the relationship is worth the strain. You can't change someone else's readiness for emotional connection, and constantly trying to break through her walls may leave you emotionally drained. But in the end, the Stoics would advise that you protect your own emotional well-being by walking away from situations that don't serve you. It's important to recognize that emotional unavailability can be contagious. If you remain in a relationship with someone who consistently shuts down emotionally, you might begin to mirror this behavior, becoming emotionally distant or guarding yourself. This can erode your ability to be open and vulnerable in future relationships, perpetuating a cycle of emotional unavailability that affects your long-term happiness and personal growth. In conclusion, the Stoic approach would be to prioritize emotional health stability and clarity. If a woman's emotional unavailability is causing confusion, heartache, or frustration, it's important to step back and look at the situation again. You deserve to be in a relationship where both people are emotionally present and able to connect deeply. Seeking relationships when you lack emotional balance will only lead to unhappiness and exhaustion. Spot the signs early and make choices that meet your emotional needs. You can stay away from relationships that aren't emotionally healthy and instead focus on making a link that truly feeds your soul. Chapter 5. Women who have been in numerous short-term relationships should be cautious. Women who constantly jump from one relationship to the next without allowing themselves time to grow or reflect could be a significant concern, particularly if they are seeking a deeper bond. Serial relationships may indicate a tendency to avoid emotional depth, as the constant pursuit of new partners can hinder the development of lasting connections. From a Stoic point of view, this cycle of short-lived relationships may also show a lack of emotional growth or a refusal to face deeper personal problems. Self-reflection and personal growth are important parts of any healthy partnership. They think that before someone can fully commit to a relationship, they need to understand themselves and deal with their past. An experience. Without taking the time to heal from past relationships, women may still struggle with mental health issues. Engaging with someone who hasn't taken this time can result in a shallow connection where trust and closeness are challenging to build. Many people have many relationships because they fear being alone or need approval. If a woman is always looking for new partners, it could mean that she has low self-esteem and needs relationships to fill that void. This dynamic can put too much pressure on you to meet emotional needs that she can only address through her own journey of self-awareness and personal growth. If she doesn't do that inner work, the relationship may become unbalanced because you'll be expected to fill in emotional gaps that you can't control. Also, a history of serial relationships can mean that someone doesn't feel comfortable being alone and would rather avoid the feelings that come with it, like self-reflection or the need for personal development. Relationships may serve as a means for her to forget about the past. Stoics would say that solitude is an important part of personal growth. If someone avoids it, they might stop growing emotionally and mentally, which makes it harder for them to make real relationships with other people. Another problem with serial relationships is that the person may not be emotionally stable. Always being in and out of relationships may not give someone the emotional strength to handle long-term commitment. This could mean that she seeks the thrill of new connections, but becomes distant or uninterested once the novelty wears off. In many cases, this emotional instability can lead to relationship instability, making it challenging to establish a solid foundation of trust and mutual understanding. Women who have a history of having multiple relationships may also find it challenging to form strong emotional bonds. When partners frequently change, it can be challenging for someone to truly invest in an inner relationship, as they may be more drawn to the excitement of a new relationship than to forging a lasting bond. For Stoics, this could mean that the relationship doesn't have much emotional depth and feels more like a short-term distraction than a real partnership. A meaningful relationship requires an emotionally stable person who is willing to grow and has a deep understanding of themselves. If a woman's history of serial relationships shows that she isn't emotionally mature or ready for a deeper connection, it's important to think about whether this relationship fits with your long-term goals and values. The Stoics believed in doing what is beneficial for the soul and staying away from situations that cause unnecessary turmoil. Being in a relationship with someone who hasn't taken the time to grow could cause more confusion and emotional strain than fulfillment. Also, the effects of serial relationships go further. Beyond the emotional depth, serial relationships can also create a sense of insecurity within the relationship. If a woman has a history of jumping from one partner to another, you may wonder how committed she is or if she's really interested in building a future with you. This uncertainty can lead to tension, which in turn can lead to a lack of trust and ultimately a breakdown in communication from a difficult person. Point of view: having inner peace and emotional stability is important for a fulfilled life. If a woman's past of serial relationships makes you feel uncertain or emotionally unstable, it could mean that the relationship doesn't fit with your values or long-term goals. Stoicism teaches us to know when something is hurting us more than it's helping, and to have the strength and courage to leave it when we need to. Finally, it's important to understand that being in a lot of relationships at once can keep both people from feeling the deep emotional connection that comes from being in a stable, committed relationship. The Stoics believed that we should seek relationships that help us grow as people and understand each other better, not ones that give us short-term pleasure or distraction. A woman's tendency to switch between relationships could indicate her unwillingness to commit to long-term emotional development. Think about whether you want this kind of relationship. In closing, the Stoic view would stress how important it is to look for relationships that are beneficial for your emotional health and allow for mutual growth. If a woman's history of serial relationships worries you, it's important to take the time to consider whether this connection aligns with your values and long-term goals. You can avoid the problems that come with an unstable relationship this way, and instead focus on making a deep connection with someone who is emotionally available and ready to invest in the next step. There are 6 types of women who thrive on drama. Sexually, you should avoid a woman who is addicted to drama. This is about women who are always in the middle of fights, chaos, and emotional upheaval. This kind of behavior can be enjoyable in the short term, but over time it can hurt trust and stability in a relationship, making it challenging to build anything really meaningful. The Stoics had a strong faith in the power of peace of mind and calmness. If a woman has a penchant for drama, she could be subjecting you to a cycle of stress and emotional turmoil, which can be detrimental to your health. Engaging in a relationship with someone who consistently seeks excitement or conflict can deplete your energy and create instability, prioritizing your emotional needs over the ongoing chaos. Women who are addicted to drama often act out by making problems where there aren't any, or making small problems into bigger ones. This kind of emotional instability can make you feel on edge all the time, because you never know when she'll lose it or start a fight. You may find yourself treading carefully to avoid provoking her, leading to a relationship built on fear rather than trust and mutual respect. Looking for drama behavior usually comes from unresolved emotional issues or a deep-seated need for attention. These women may have trouble dealing with a calm or quiet in a relationship, so they create situations that make others feel strong emotions, whether those feelings are positive or negative. This may be enjoyable at first, but it can quickly become tiring and mentally taxing over time. The relationship may feel more like a roller coaster than a secure, stable partnership. Another thing to think about is how this constant drama affects your social life and reputation. If she's making public scenes, fighting with family or friends, or spreading rumors, it could affect not only your relationship with her, but also your overall health and reputation in your community. The Stoics would tell you to stay away from these kinds of relationships because they destroy the harmony and inner peace that are necessary for a happy, fulfilling life. Emotional maturity is very important. If someone is addicted to drama, she might not be able to deal with emotional problems in a healthy way. Instead, she might use conflict or manipulation to get what she wants, which will likely create a toxic relationship where trust and intimacy can't exist. The Stoics would tell us to look for relationships that promote peace and personal growth, not ones that constantly throw our emotions off balance. It's rare for relationships with women who are addicted to drama to end well. The never-ending cycle of conflict, emotional highs and lows, and instability can be very draining, leaving you feeling emotionally spent and unable to focus on what's important in life. Early detection and departure from these patterns can prevent the emotional strain of perpetual chaos and conflict. The seventh, women who don't respect limits. A woman who consistently violates your rules is one of the most significant warning signs to watch out for. Boundaries are important for healthy relationships, and a woman who doesn't respect them could do you a lot of emotional harm. Whether she's ignoring your personal space, forcing you into situations you don't want to be in, or constantly crossing the lines you set, not respecting boundaries is a big problem. Stoics stress how important it is to respect yourself and know your limits. If a woman breaks your rules over and over again, it means she either doesn't care about how you feel or is trying to control or manage the relationship. Respecting each other and knowing what their emotional and physical needs are is important for good relationships. If a woman disregards these needs, it can lead to anger. Anger can even lead to a loss of identity. Boundary violations can show up in different ways. For some women, it means not giving them the space or time they need to be alone. For others, it means using emotional abuse to get you to do things that make you feel bad or cross emotional lines. If things escalate significantly, they may even coerce you into intimate interactions before you're ready or disregard your emotional cues. No matter what form it takes, boundary violations create an unhealthy power dynamic. It's challenging to establish a genuine bond with women who disregard boundaries. Another problem with women who don't respect boundaries is the long-term emotional damage that happens when you have to constantly defend your needs or fight to keep your personal space. Over time, it can be draining and frustrating, and you may feel like you can't put any more emotional energy into the relationship. Stoics would tell you to protect your emotional health by avoiding relationships like these and focusing on ones that bring peace and harmony into your life. No-boundary women may try to control you by telling you where to go, who to see, and what to think or feel. This kind of control takes away your freedom and can make you feel trapped. The stone worth we value your freedom, both physically and emotionally, and advise you to avoid relationships that often diminish your own identity. Women who disregard boundaries may remain unaware of the severity of their actions, particularly if they have never faced consequences. Instead of trying to change others' behavior, focus on your own mental health. It's impossible to build a stable, trusting relationship with a woman who won't respect your limits. The relationship is likely to be fraudulent, filled with arguments and tension. Stoic philosophy tells us to know our own worth and not put up with behavior that makes us feel less worthy of it. In any relationship, consistently broken boundaries indicate that the relationship may not be worth pursuing. Avoid women who don't respect your limits. Knowing the right dynamics in relationships is important for your mental and emotional health. As this show comes to a close, it's clear that choosing relationships based on mutual respect and understanding is the best way to stay healthy. Stoics told us how important it is to think logically. To keep your self-respect and inner peace in partnerships, it's important to be aware of the warning signs that can ruin your peace and personal growth. We did not discuss 7 types of women for the purpose of labeling or judging them. Instead, we talked about how to protect yourself from emotional chaos, manipulation, or instability. Always put your emotional health and values first in any relationship. Remember that building healthy, long-lasting relationships takes work, self-awareness, and most importantly, a partner who respects and understands you. The Stoics would tell you to stay true to your principles and avoid drama that can pull you away from the life you want to live. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever done business with any of these kinds of women? Please share your story and click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss any more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.